Yeah, hello. My name is CrEaToXx, and I am a mod creator on the Nexus. Uh, I create mods primarily for Bethesda games like Skyrim, Fallout 4, and now the newly released Starfield. And as you can see, I'm based in Germany, and my other hobbies are sports. I'm an amateur triathlete, and during my peak time in the Corona year, 2021, I believe it was, or 2020, I did more than 18,000 kilometers a year, swimming, running, swimming, biking, cycling, and running. And yeah, that's about me. And as I already said, I'm a variety modder, modding primarily Bethesda games, and you can see I've made more than 100 mods for various games, including the new Starfield, Far Cry Primal, Kingdom Come, Deliverance, Fallout 4, which was the primary focus up until May, I believe. No, it was June. And even before that, so I have a background in mod creation back to the year of 2016 with the current account. See, I was even modding for Galactic Civilizations, I just see. Couldn't even remember that one. And Skyrim, obviously, for both versions. There you can see Fallout 4. My first released mod was Verdant Wasteland back in 2016. And I had an account before that, but I dropped it. And my whole mod creation background ranges back to the days of Morrowind. And as you can see, if I go to my well-organized modding folder, I have made mods for Civilization 5, Distant Worlds, Dead Island, Dark Souls, Fallout 4, Primal, Galactic Civilizations 3, Kingdom Come. So that's the place where all of my mod creations and also mod downloads come together. For example, I also made a editor for Stellaris to allow for creating static galaxies, and you can find that on the Nexus as well. And my current focus is, of course, Starfield. And I probably have to update my Nexus profile information for that. I haven't done that yet, but it's gonna happen this weekend, I guess. So, and why do it's not just a shameless self advertisement here, what I'm doing. Why I'm telling you all of this is because it contains some information before we start modding and setting up the modding creation environment. As you can see, if you look at the desktop here, and I'm actually having two monitors, you can't see the second monitor. I could probably set up OBS to show the second monitor, but I can't be bothered to do that right now. Maybe I'm going to do that in future tutorials. And as you can tell by the desktop, I'm a bit organized, okay? So, having single-player games, or games or whatever, shooter, whatever. Everything has its dedicated row up here, and basically those games are the ones that I haven't modded or am not using mods. And as you can see, there was a time in the past where I had a focus on Half-Life. I believe it was back in 2020 when I actually bought my current computer. I'm getting a new one, a new rig for Starfield with a 4090 NVIDIA GPU and a 30,700K CPU, because you have to upgrade, right? And as you can tell, I'm quite organized. And as example for my organization, I'm going to take Fallout 4 here, because apparently with Starfield only released like for me personally 7 days, so because I was early access, so it's released since a week now. I can show you exactly the same range of organization I'm having in Fallout 4. So I'm taking Fallout 4 as an example for my structural organization here. And all that you see here is, those are all links. It's not necessarily the software I'm using that I'm placing on the desktop, because that's a thing you don't want to do just because of performance reasons. And it's all links, okay? So you can tell I'm having the script extender and the original Fallout 4 launcher here. Then I'm having Mod Organizer 2. See? Just love that. Probably some people disagree and say, come on, use Vortex. And very old-school legacy users prefer manual install. for Fallout 4, I prefer Mod Organizer 2, and that's probably going to be the case for Starfield as well. They are currently working on a port, but we're not there yet because I'm actually waiting for the official creation kit before I decently, let's say decently start structuring myself here. And I know that there's early access for ESPs, but we don't want to go there because it's a hacky way to do that. And basically, what you do is setting up a test file in the INI, and then this will allow you to use one additional customized ESP. But I'm not sure that you want to do that, and it's not the regular way. It's obviously only done for a test file, and I'm not going there. So, Rybash, I'm sure they're working on a port as well, and loot as well, and then you can see other various tools here that I'm using. Blender, Z-Edit, which is a multi-tool, which I'm primarily using to merge mods, because at one point you always reach the plugin limit, and then we are using the archiver to create archives, and obviously the major tool, the creation kit. I'm not gonna start that yet because it's taking 10 to 15 seconds to load. So, but now let's go to the folder structure. I have a link to the mod organizer mods folder for easy access. The override folder, because if you mod, I have set up my mod environment for Fallout 4 that all newly created and edited files will be placed in the mod organizer override folder for easy access. Then logs, obviously, script logs and whatnot, and backup for whenever something needs to be backupped. And then I'm having the crash dumps, which you can see are all created by Primal, because that was the last game I've played before I started going into Starfield. Okay, so, and on my second monitor I also have a set of folder links set up. For example, the Steam common folder for easy access to Starfield. Then I'm having the folder that I showed you previously leading to Starfield itself. The modding folder where all my mods are, and there you have the first tutorial that I made. Then you have the archive extractor, which also has a link here. And you have JPEGs, which is a Flash editor slash decompiler. And those are the only tools we are using for, or I am using for Starfield. You can also create texture mods already, and as I said, a test plugin and using Xedit, a ported version of Xedit, I believe it is. But I'm not going there yet. It's not about time. In contrary, the UI, so the Flash files, can easily be edited, and it's perfectly okay to do that with JPEGs, because even if we have a source available in the future and the creation and official tools available, JPEGs is still a valid tool. Okay, so because it eases up a lot of processes in editing the UI. Okay, so, and basically that's about it, I'd say. Setting up your mod environment, you just go to the data folder, and this is all you. Then you no, actually that's bullshit. That's not all about it. What I wanted to show is how to set up a mod environment for installing manually mods you are using. And as example, I'm using the interface, the vanilla interface archive, and we're just going to drag and drop it into the archive extractor, which is available on the Nexus. Just go to the search, and it's probably the first one showing up. Starfield, not Satterfield, Starfield. You douche. See, there we go. That's the first showing up. That is what you want to use to extract archives. And if you extract it, and I would usually extract it to my downloads folder because it's most of the time empty. And then I just copied it, moved it over to my desktop, and then you end up with that structure, okay? You're having all the Flash files here, and lucky for us, Bethesda is much better organized in comparison to Skyrim or Fallout 4, I'd say. And because a lot of the interface files were scattered through various archives in Fallout 4 and Skyrim as well. And that doesn't seem to be the case for Starfield this time around. So, and basically, if you extract a folder and you end up with a interface folder. For the textures, it's probably it's the textures folder and so on, and for the models is the meshes folder. And this is always sub data. Okay, so all those folders always need to go into data. You also have the option to use the my games folder, but I'm not doing that. Okay, that's not what I am doing. But we come back to that folder later, because there is something that you have to do in order to actually make mods work. And I'm not using the my games folder, I'm using the root folder, because that is consensus since the times of Morrowind. And the script extender team, SFSE, let's see if we can find it. The script extender team already made a statement. And no, you can't just jam the DLL and Game Pass, blah 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 blah. And long story short, there are issues with Game Pass, and they prefer the Steam install, like every rational person should do. And because of various reasons, especially if you're a mod creator. And they already made clear that they will make use of the root folder structure, okay? And the reason for that is quite easily because this effort would also be passed down to everyone creating native code mods. So independently of any loader protection or other issue, it would take a huge amount of effort to support the Game Pass executable. And that's not only true for the Game Pass, but also if we agree on having multiple versions of installing mods, so either the root folder or the My Games folder. Because once the official tools are released, the My Games folder will no longer be a topic, I'm entirely sure. Because the creation kit is probably not using the My Games folder. That's just what I assume is going to happen. I may be wrong on this. We're going to find out once the creation kit is going to be released. And that's the most important sentence for me. Doubling or worse everyone's work, not only mod creators but also mod users, and this is not going to happen. So basically, because they are the major player for me personally, maybe other people have other opinions, but they, the script extender team for me is the major player in the modding community, because as far as I can tell, they are all professional IT persons, and they have the experience because they exist since the time of Skyrim, or even beyond that, before that, I'm not sure. And I think they're all professional IT guys, because you just can tell that by the way they are creating their content, that they have a professional IT coding background, whatever you want to name it, which, in contrary, I do not have. I'm just an experienced modder with a background ranging back to 20 years, and I just learned all that stuff by myself, and via the internet primarily, just researching code and stuff like that, so... which led to me being available modding multiple games, and I'm somewhat fluid in Java code, I'm somewhat fluid in C++ code, I'm somewhat fluid in other code, but I'm very fluid in Papyrus code, because obviously I'm a Bethesda games mod creator. So, that's about the folder structure, or the file structure, and the environment setup structure, and as I said, you end up in the data folder. And you always want to keep that file structure the same as you extract it. So every file replacement will have the same structure. So here you can see I'm using Star UI. See? And basically you just copy all those files into the data folder. The interface folder, move to the data folder, okay? Then I'm using my own enhanced HUD UI and my own quick main menu mod, which basically removes all the unnecessary gimmicks when you start the game. And I make sure that there are no conflicts, and you have to scan the files before in order to understand that if that is the case. Okay, so and that's basically about it for now, because once the mod organizer gets released, that is going to change, because then I'm going to make use of a dedicated mods folder, and manual install is no longer going to happen, and I'm probably going to do an additional video on this. Okay, so but that's the organization. Put links on the desktop for easy access, make backups, and use the data folder, use the root folder, don't use the My Games folder. That's just my recommendation, because I can anticipate what's going to happen in future, and My Games is probably not going to be a consensus. So that's about it. Setting up your modding environment, introduction of my person. I hope you've learned something. The next video will be about modding the UI. Until then. Oh yeah, and obviously I forgot about one of the most important things. As I said previously, in the My Games folder, there is something that you have to set up in order to use mods in your game. That's very important also for mod creators. So basically what you want to do is creating a Starfield custom.ini. Just go to new, create a new text file, and then you rename it with that name and make sure to remove the text and replace it with ini, okay? And then you can use, like me, Notepad++, okay? Very important tool, Notepad++. Go download it. It's not the major coding tool I'm using, but it is an additional tool. And if you download plugins for it, because there is a specific Papyrus plugins for Notepad++, it will ease up coding for you. So for me, that's a very, very important tool, Notepad++. Can't believe I forgot about all that information. And yeah, you basically just create the text file, replace the name with what you're reading here, Starfield custom.ini. And if you open it in Notepad++, you add those 3 lines. Archive in, I believe those are exclamation marks named in English, I'm not sure. In German you would just say eckige Klammern. And invalidate older files, which basically makes it so that loose files in your common Starfield folder, in your Steam folder or whatever your install is, can be read, okay? And that additional as resource data, DS final, is just addition to what I was saying about that one. So that's the major modding environment set up for me. Archive extractor, JPEGs, Notepad++, and setting up the structure in setting up the structure inside your Steam installs data folder, okay? So this time around, it's all the information we need. See you around for the next video.